Setting goals is easy. Staying on track is the hard part. In this episode, I'm going to share with you, number one, how to discover the right path for you. Number two, how to stay on the path. And number three, how to get back on the path whenever you fall off the path, which happens to everyone. So all of this is about consistency and discipline and focus so that you can achieve your goals and live the life that you want. Today, we're talking about the art of follow through, how to stay consistent with your goals. I've done what I'm teaching you with hundreds of other guys in my coaching program over the past nearly decade. And by the end of this, you're going to know exactly what you need to do to determine the right path for you. What are the right goals? How do you stay on the path? And then how do you get back on the path whenever you fall off? Because it's inevitable. It happens to everybody. All right, now, if you want to have a conversation about this with other listeners who are listening to this right now, just like you, go over to our free community. Join the free community. Go to jimharshawjr.com/free. There's also a 7 days to clarity course in there. It's all my best stuff. It is absolutely incredible. I put my best stuff in there, so you're going to get a lot of value just in that 7-day course, but that's accessible as soon as you join the community. So jimharshawjr.com/free. And of course, you can have an opportunity to have a conversation about this with me, to talk about coaching. Is it right for you? And how would this even fit into your life? And maybe it's not even the right fit. And that's the goal of that call, is to figure out if it's the right fit. And even if it's not, there's some really valuable resources I can point you to. You just go to jimharshawjr.com/apply. All right, so let's get into the content for today. Follow through, as we know, is the crux, right? Like I said at the beginning, it's easy to set goals. Really, it's relatively easy. And I know some people struggle with that, but that's really the easy part. You're going to get thrown off the path as you start working towards following through. I think back to my wrestling career, and even when I was coaching wrestling at the collegiate level, I would always meet with each of my wrestlers at the beginning of the season, and we would talk about their goals. What are your goals for the year, etc. And I would always ask them, like, what are the setbacks that you might incur this year? What could go wrong on the path to achieving this goal? And they would tell me, well, I could get injured, or I could have a big test that day, the day of a big match. I could get sick during the season, or my girlfriend could break up with me, or I could take a bad loss. Whatever it is, there's all kinds of things that can set you off, throw you off the path, physically, but also mentally and emotionally and psychologically. So we have to be aware that these things are going to happen. They're going to come along. And whenever I would help them identify that during the season, and then if something would come up during the season, I would say, well, wait a second, didn't we already identify that this could happen? Like, let's not overreact here. Yes, you're injured. Hopefully you can heal from this and get back. So let's focus on the process. Let's get to, do the rehab, show up early in the training room and do all your rehab, etc. Let's not try to come back too early. All of those things. So this kind of thing is going to happen. Now what? Like, how do we handle it? So I want to spend the rest of the episode talking about these three main topics, these three concepts, to help you discover the right path for you, stay on the path, and then get back on the path whenever you fall off. So number one, knowing your path. First, you have to know your path. Like, what is the path for you anyway? What are the habits and routines? What are the right goals? All of this starts with stepping back to identify your vision and your core values. Like, what are the things that I actually like? Where am I actually going? Why set this goal? They struggle because they're setting the right goals. They show up and sign up for these calls with me, and they come into our coaching program, and they have goals, but they're wondering if they're the right goals. And if you find yourself being inconsistent and not resilient and lacking focus, and then you might not have the right goals, or there may be something else in this framework, in this process, in your systems that is not dialed in. And it all starts with, where am I going? What actually drives me? What do I want? It's not about setting your goal or knowing your path, like where you're going, based upon, hey, what's parked in my neighbor's driveway, or what I see on social media. It's got to be inherent to you. Like, what does your DNA tell you that you want? And that takes a little bit of time to figure out. So to know your path, first you start with the vision and values, then you set your goals, then you have to identify, what are the habits and routines and systems that I need to have in place? And this is actually the theme of my retreat that we're hosting this in May. We're going to be talking about habits and routines and systems for success. But you have to identify, what are the right ones for you? that are going to help me stay on the path? What time do I have to get to bed? What time do I have to wake up? Who are the people I should be spending my time with? Who are the people I should be maybe avoiding and reducing the amount of time that I spend with? What are the books I should be reading? All of this should be in alignment with the vision, the values, and then the goals that you determine from the vision and values. I want you to think of this concept of sort of knowing, this first concept here I'm sharing of knowing your path. I want you to think about this as this way. Imagine you're on a hike and all of a sudden you don't know what happened, but you find yourself off the path. There's no path, you're out in the woods, you're looking around, and you're like, gosh, how did I end up here? And this is what a lot of people do in life. They drift off the path. They drift, they're not intentional, they drift off the path. And they're like, man, I don't even know what the path is. I don't know where I'm supposed to be going. If you know the path, you can get back on it. You go, okay, there it is, over there. I can walk back to it. I can get on the path. But if you don't know what your path is, you're just going to aim and roam and wander around, wasting time. The clock is ticking on your life, and you're just going to feel like, I'm hustling, I'm working hard here. I'm, pushing through the branches and the brush and trailblazing. I'm working hard, but I don't know if I'm on the path. And maybe you find a path and I don't even know if this is the right path. I don't know if this goes where I want it to go. You have to know that path, right? And like I said, you can use that free course to really hone in on what does that path look like for you. So I said 3 things. Number 1, know your path. Number 2, how do you stay on the path? Like, how do you actually stay on the path long term? What are the tactics? What are the things you can do to do your best at staying on the path? And don't say I gotta hold myself accountable, because holding yourself accountable is not a thing. I hear people say, well, Jim, I just gotta hold myself accountable. No, you don't. If you could do that, you'd already be doing it. And holding yourself accountable is not really a thing. You could be disciplined, self-discipline, but accountability comes from someone else, comes externally. All right. So that could be an accountability partner, a friend. In the coaching program, this is sort of built into it, having an accountability partner, but you have to have that external accountability. It can be accountability partner, it can be a coach, it can be a mentor, it can be a group. If you think like a team in sport, there's accountability built in there. Like when you're in a group, there's a standard of expectation. There's accountability there. And listen, men don't have that in the world. By default, we typically don't have that. It's just, especially in the day and age that we live in now, right? We have so much technology, you can work from home, and there's so much given to us that allows us to be so independent that we've lost so much accountability. And because of that, execution, commitment, consistency, discipline, focus has all suffered. Not only do we have technology that can help us sort of execute, but also technology that will distract us, right? And so we need the group. We need the standard, the accountability that comes with being part of a group. This is what you need in your life. Here's another sort of the last point on tactics for staying on the path. Just like in sport, you have to track. In sport, there's a scoreboard, right? There's a win-loss record. You might be tracking your 40 speed or your bench press or whatever. Like, you have to track this, right? In business, it's called KPIs. It's called OKRs, right? KPI, key performance indicators. OKRs, objectives and key results. Whatever you want to call those, you have to track these. You have to have a system and process for tracking. Otherwise, you're not going to stay on the path. And lastly, how do you get back in the saddle after you get thrown off? Because you will. How do you get back on the path? Well, first of all, you have to take the productive pause, right? You've heard me say this before if you listened to any episodes. Short period of focused reflection around specific questions that leads to clarity of action and peace of mind. So if you're working with a coach, or if you do some journaling, you could write down or answer the question, how do I get back on the path? What are the things that I need to do to get back on the path? And you're probably going to come up with some great ideas. If you don't do the pause, you're not going to, because you're just going to drift. You can be busy, you can be checking your phone, checking emails, running kids to sporting events and doing life, and you'll never get around to it. You might kind of work on it a little bit here and there, but you've got to do the productive pause if you really want to lock in and get back on the path.